Now hear this. According to the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, over 800 companies in Nigeria shut down in 2023. Over 800 companies shut down in 2023. Now that's a huge number. He went further to mention that President Bola Tinubu is not responsible for this massive exodus. Now, if not the president, who then is responsible? Or maybe the better question to ask is, what then is responsible? On the show today, we'll look at that and also get to the market to hear the market side of things from a photographer who has been in the business for over 8 years. On that note, I'd like to welcome you to Market Square. My name is Oluwapelumi. Happy you tuned in tonight. Of the over 800 companies who shut down in Nigeria in 2023, a significant number are in the manufacturing space there. Companies including Jubilee Syringe Manufacturing, Procter & Gamble, Unilever Nigeria, PZ Nigeria, GSK Nigeria, Sanofi Pharmaceutical, Mayor Biscuits, Griff Nigeria, many others, packed up in 2023, and with many other multinational companies declaring over 1 trillion naira combined losses. And you also have some companies that you will see on the screen pop up now, Nigerian companies that shut down in 2023. You have the companies there, you see that on the screen. Over 800 companies, just like Mr. Wale Edun said, packed up in 2023. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has said that manufacturers were forced to cut production and jobs in the first quarter of the year due to macroeconomic related issues. MAN's Director of Research and Advocacy, Mr. Oluwapelumi, stated this while presenting the Manufacturers CEO Confidence Index at a press conference recently in Lagos. Now, to be very clear, the Manufacturers CEO Confidence Index, which is called MCCI, is a measure of how optimistic CEOs in the manufacturing sector are about the current and financial state of the economy. It considers changes in government policies, considers change in economic indicators, talks about, look at the changes in the business condition, the employment levels, and also the production level. Usually, when the score is above 50, it indicates CEOs are more optimistic than pessimistic about the future. The report that was presented showed a moderate improvement in the aggregate index score, evidenced by an increase from 51.8 points to 53.5 points for the first time in the last 6 quarters. This, from the report, shows that the manufacturing sector may be set for restoration and recovery to the level recorded in the third quarter of 2022. Now, in 2022, the third quarter in 2022, there was improvement recorded, there was recovery recorded, and it projected that given this index, this Manufacturing CEOs Confidence Index, given the index that has just been released, there is a tendency that there will be recovery later this year. Some people have even said that the recovery might happen at the same quarter, meaning that we're in the second quarter now. By the time we get to the third quarter, there's a projection that things will get better in the third quarter of 2024. Looking at that report, production and distribution costs surged further by 20% in the first quarter of 2024, while capacity utilization declined further by 9.7%. On this show, the last time I was on the show, I spoke about the GDP recently released by the National Bureau of Statistics with respect to how we have done, and we realized that there was quite some increase. It quite grew, and I mentioned on the show that the nominal figure given was way higher than the real GDP because of the increase in the price of goods and services, and that hasn't spared the manufacturing sector isn't excluded from the effect or the impact of the increase in prices in the first quarter of 2024. Employment in the manufacturing sector further declined. I mean, if you have over 800 companies pack up in 2023, you can already tell that there will be a lot of persons out of jobs. You can tell it's just simple. It's simple economics. When you have more companies shut down in your country, given a short period of time, you would have more people unemployed. So the employment rate further declined by 5.27% in the first quarter of 2024 from the 4.46% recorded in the last quarter of 2023. Also, from that report, from that meeting, it was stated that sales volume also fell by 7.16% in the first quarter of the year compared to 1.6% decline witnessed in the previous quarter. That's the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, one can note that the instability of Forex, increased inflation, energy crisis, have all impacted negatively on the manufacturing sector, because from the figures given, from the production levels, you would see that the production levels across board has declined, and the competitiveness in the manufacturing sector has also declined. And my fear is that we don't have more companies shut down in 2024. Although we can see that the index given by the man seems positive, looking at it on paper. But it's my hope that we don't have more companies shut down in 2024. Speaking of reduced competitiveness, over 335 companies became distressed in 2023. Now, in economics, when you talk about a business being distressed, it means that the business is, if that season continues for a long time, the tendency that business will crash is high. So we talk about shutdown in economics. Talk about shutdown. Shutdown is, I can't really pay the bills anymore. What I will do if I want to shut down a company is to pay off my workers and then settle my debt, sell the assets, and use the money from the asset to clear the liabilities. And that's what you do in business. Now, when a business is close to shutdown, so if over 800 companies shut down in 2023, and you have about 335 companies in distress who were in distress in 2023, it meant that if the season stayed longer, they would have also shut down, meaning that they sacked more persons. So distress is that I get one person to do the work of 4 people. I get one person to do the work of 3 persons. And if I realize that I'm not making so much money, I can even sack that one person and tell the person to go because I'm not making money. Now, when a business owner is not making money and chooses to sack a particular staff, you can't really blame the business worker. He's not making money. You can't take him to court for that. For as long as he has paid the person's salary and says, okay, see, this is we're in May, for instance, this is the 30th day in the month of May 2024 rather. I'm going to pay your salary this month, but be rest assured that in July, you will not have a job here. Not because you're not good enough, you're not qualified enough, but because I cannot keep paying. And then what that does is that we take more persons who are working, who are doing well, and put them in the labor market again, whilst the negotiation for an improved minimum wage is still on. According to Mr. Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, while speaking about why over 800 companies shut down in 2023, he stated some reasons. He mentioned marketing stability, mentioned unfulfilled promises, mentioned breaches of contract, foreign exchange market, general economic instability, broken promises, lack of adherence to promises. And if you're going to look at that list of saying market instability, the market has not been stable, the Nigerian space, because we cannot even predict what can happen tomorrow. I was checking the news yesterday, and I realized that on Tuesday, while I was recording the show, I titled it "Tap Swap." Have you seen it? Did you see it? You liked it, didn't you? Tap swap. Now, while I was doing that, I mentioned the fact that the custom duty seems to be reflecting the exchange rate. And I also mentioned 2 weeks ago that the government should try to peg the import duty so that importers are encouraged. I will get to that in a moment. The other part of the show today, I'll talk about the letter of credit and to see how that import has reduced. But on this, people cannot project, they cannot predict what can happen tomorrow. And then because of that, they shut down their businesses. I can't really do business in an environment that is not predictable, can I? No one wants to do that kind of business. And there has also been unfulfilled promises. It mentioned unfulfilled promises, breaches of contract, foreign exchange market. And I think the breach of contract talks about some of the cryptocurrency companies that we have seen so far. I can't really mention some names now. But crypto companies that shut down last year. Most startups shut down last year. And I like for the media person to project the image that has the different startups that shut down in 2023. You see that on the screen. Lazarpay, some companies that you can see on the screen shut down last year because they couldn't, because of some level of breach of promises, breach of contract, broken promises, lack of adherence, and more. Now, in recent months, manufacturers have remained vocal about their inability to operate at optimal capacity due to various challenges confronting the economy. Okay, and many business owners would say this is very, very true. There, optimum capacity. When a company is not functioning at full capacity, it is only a matter of time before a company will ask the workforce to go home, since the factory is not operating at full strength. And when that happens, as we are already seeing in the country at the moment, some more companies are sacking their workers, telling them to go home because they are not making money. It's one thing to create a product. It's something else for people to ask for the product that you create. And if that is not happening, then you want to look at another side of your business and see what profit you can make from that. Now, there's a company in Ota. I think in Ogun State, yes, that shut down its components. I think the company is into making business biscuits. I think it's Mayor Biscuit Company. Now that company had two sides of the business, yeah, and the company shut down the biscuit making part and then focused on the other part. Even put the machine for sale to say the machine we're using to produce biscuit, let's put it for sale because we want to focus on the other part of our business. Yeah, so that's what most companies are doing now, sending their workers out because they cannot afford to pay the bills. There was a survey carried out last September 2023, by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and it revealed that capacity utilization in the sector declined by 57.9%. Declined from 57.9% to 56.5% recorded in the corresponding year, that was in 2022. If we want these outcomes to change, if we want to achieve steady economic growth, I know that our GDP seems high, and like I said on the show the other time, GDP is the total value of the product produced within a particular country, meaning gross domestic product, total value of the product produced within a particular country. And whilst that seems high, we know that there are real issues in our country at the moment. So if we want this to change, achieving steady economic growth, improving production, reaching a reduced cost level. If there's anything a manufacturer desires to have at this time, is to spend less on production, isn't that? To spend less on production. The government needs to address the cost push factor driving inflation. In inflation, there are two types of inflation. There is the demand pull inflation, and there is the cost push inflation. Demand pull is when the cost of a product is high because the people are demanding for that product a lot. Okay. Now, the other one is cost push, talks about the fact that once the cost of producing the product is high, manufacturers will transfer the cost of producing that good to the consumers. Speaking of reducing costs, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has petitioned the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to stop the hike in the tariff payment payable by power users under the Band A category. Now, every manufacturing company, I believe, is under the Band A category because of the energy they consume, the equipment they have there, and how that equipment will need to get more power than the other ordinary guy who stays in the room in Akute, and we just bulb and fan, just in his room. And so these people are saying that we want the government to speak to the people in charge of power supply to reduce the cost of, getting power. I read in the news this morning as to the fact that discos made a lot of money. Whilst the agitation is still on, the discos still made a lot of money in the last 1 month. A lot. I can't really pick the figure in my head right now. But what I saw was a lot. There are concerns over the monthly tariff review methodology being implemented by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission there. And the electricity tariff hike would further affect the manufacturing firms in Nigeria negatively, with more than 36 companies having been disconnected at the moment. Now, I was online yesterday when I saw a post made by one of the ministers in the last regime speaking about the fact that he stays in the Ekiti State. And it was observed that every time in the Ekiti State, from the first day in the month till around 20th, they give light sparingly. They give light sparingly in drops. And then he says that when it's around 27th, they can give you light from 27th to 31st. Who knows what I'm talking about there? Yeah, they give you light from morning till night. You will now be wondering, are you in a different country? They do it the next day, 29th, 30th, 31st. They will come pamper you. When they come to you to get money from you and you give them the money, they will go. And when they leave, the routine continues, the cycle continues. From the first day of the month till 27th, no lights. As much as you would want it, you want to have it, and then they repeat the cycle again. The April 2024 MYTO led to an increase in the tariff of Band A customers from about 68 naira per kilowatt per hour to 225 naira kilowatt per hour. The tariff increase has made the manufacturing industry in Nigeria uncompetitive, adding that it should be reversed to prevent further damage in the sector. I think the government has to look into this, because what will happen over time is that even if demand remains the same, what will happen is that the manufacturers will spend more producing, and when they spend more producing, they will transfer the cost of that product on customers, and we will cry again for help. So the government has to look into this as soon as possible. Now, whilst the index by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria looks favorable. I mean, what would they say? What else would they have said about the fact that they're confident in Nigeria? We know that there are many things that needs to be fixed, and so the government may need to look at how to call a meeting. I think I read also in the news that the government is calling a meeting for manufacturers to meet and discuss about the way forward. And I think that's a good move to make. It will not be great to see more companies shut down in 2024. Some good news for foreign exchange marketers. Let's now do the numbers. The Naira appreciated to 1,173.88 Naira per dollar on the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market window on Tuesday, marking an increase of 14.09% from the previous day's rate. This is the highest one-day increase. Can you hear the drum roll there? Woo! Awesome. This is the highest one-day increase since January 2024, with a surge in foreign exchange turnover of around $328.32 million. Possible reasons: it's the end of the month. Today is the 30th of May, and companies are settling their books to meet certain obligations, and they will need to demand for Naira by depositing foreign currency, and also possible increase of foreign remittances. As of this morning on the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, the value of Naira appreciated by 7.37% from 1,481.23 Naira per dollar to 1,379 Naira per dollar. The Bureau de Change rate also appreciated by 2.42%. What a day. What a day today is. From 1,480 Naira per dollar to 1,445 naira per dollar. Now let's hear from David, who is a photographer, as he talks about the cost of equipment in the industry that he plays in so well. Over to you, David.
Hi there, my name is David Shono. I am a documentary photographer, and I've been in photography for say 7 to 8 years, and grew on the ladder and then grew into other levels of photography. So very quickly, I'll just be talking about how changing say the dollar rate and then the forex market actually affects our photography. Really, most of this comes through, most of the price changes and differences comes through our equipment. Our equipment are not as cheap as a lot of people might think it is. Take for example, just 2 weeks ago I made an inquiry for a particular gear, a particular lens, and it was around 750,000 naira. Last week, that's 2 weeks ago. Then 1 week ago I made another inquiry about that same lens, and to be honest with you, it was about 1.7 million naira. So you see the price change, it grew about a million naira difference, and it was the price fluctuation. I'm sure if I check now, it might have reduced, but then if I check again tomorrow, it will increase. And then this really affects how we charge. So most times you see a photographer charge a lot of money, and then you're like, why are you charging a lot of money for this? And then you want good pictures, we need to get better gears, and most times when we get better gears, they're way more expensive. So which is why sometimes you see a photographer say, well, the price you asked for last week is not the price right now. Maybe the photographer recently got a new gear, maybe got a new lens, maybe got a new camera body, and then you need to make up for it. You need to make up for that money that was spent. Do you understand? And then in our gears, mainly in our gears, that's where a lot of these price differences come from. There's a particular lens I got about 2-3 years ago. I think I got it for 50,000 naira, and right now that lens goes for over 150 to 200,000 naira. Yes, I know there's meant to be price difference in a whole lot of things, but not this crazy difference. You get, and this is what really affects photography a lot of times. So this is what affects the price that your photographer is actually telling you to pay right now. So yeah, that's it basically.
Thank you, David. Nigeria's letter of credit payments have declined by 63% in the first quarter of 2024 compared to the first quarter in 2023. Now, this is according to the international payments data of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And just to make things very clear, a letter of credit is a mode of payment for the importation of visible goods. Okay? More like a guarantee for both the importer and exporter. This letter protects both the seller, who is the exporter, and the buyer, who is the importer, by ensuring that the seller gets paid if it meets the terms of agreement, and the buyer also pays if they receive the correct goods. So usually the importer's bank issues the letter of credit guaranteeing payment to the exporter upon meeting certain conditions, like presenting shipment documents such as bills of lading, invoices, and inspection of certificate. The exporter ships the goods and submits the required document to their bank. The exporter's bank verifies the document against the letter of credit, and before releasing the payment of the exporter, the bank checks again and again. Now, once the bank receives payment from the importer, they then reimburse the exporter's bank. So letter of credits are a common tool used to mitigate risk in international trade, where parties may not even know themselves or don't trust themselves completely. So they provide securities for both sides by ensuring that each party fulfills their obligations before payment is made. The implication of having this reduced this decline in the letter of credit is that more persons are beginning to decide against importing. More persons are beginning to decide against importing. And the implication of not importing goods, we say it's nice, it's fair, it's good. We can promote our infant companies. We can have more companies do more now because we don't have so many persons importing. But there are consequences. No nation on earth can satisfy its entire need. No nation, especially Africa, especially the continent of Africa, that we don't really quite have a country that has everything in it. So no nation can satisfy its everyday need. Yeah. The total letters of credit payment made through the official channels for first quarter in 2024 was about $204.47 million. This figure reflects a decrease of $344.75 million compared to the $549.22 million recorded in the first quarter of 2023. President Bola Tinubu's regime clocked a year yesterday, and many persons are going to try to compare the different quarters. So broadly speaking, from an economic standpoint, we compare quarter to quarter to say that's year on year. First quarter of 2022 versus first quarter of 2023. We believe that the conditions, we believe that the economic situation will be the same. So let's say, for instance, people travel a lot in December. That's static. They come back in January. They must have spent their money in the village. Igbos, they buy things. They buy different stuff, cook, enjoy themselves. Come back in January. So we believe that quarters most likely have the same economic situation and economic environment. That's what we believe in economics. Now, so if you're going to compare the figures with the one in 2023, you will be shocked with the difference that you would have. This significant decrease highlights the challenges the country faces in its international trade and financial transactions. This 63 decline is despite the CBN declaration to extend the timeline for the issuance of letter of credit from 24 hours to 5 working days in the country. But the country seems to continue to struggle with foreign exchange scarcity. This can indicate decreased import activity as a result of foreign exchange shortages, stricter import regulations, or economic constraints. And these are some of the issues that may have, some of the things that may have caused for this 63% decline. Now, the percentage is a lot, because no country can by itself, no country should in any case, have its letter of credit being gotten 100%, meaning that a country that does that is reliant on import alone. A country that relies solely on people getting letter of credit to make import relies on import alone. And when that country gets into a mode like we were in 2020 during COVID-19 season, that country will starve. And so as much as possible, as much as we want to encourage our local-based domestic companies, we also should ensure that people are motivated, people are inspired. The environment gives the economic environment is encouraging for people to import goods, sell to us, and then we buy and have varieties. Because one of the goods that come with importing goods is that we have varieties in the country. It's been an incredible time with you on the show. Thank you for joining me tonight. I want to hear your feedback with respect to this. Do have to follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and comment every single time when you see our post. My name remains Oluwapelumi Awe. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.